This is a Mazda Miata. It has one major flaw. It's an automatic. Ew! Let's fix that. In case you guys are new here, I bought this Mazda Miata for my trade-up flip challenge. I started out with $100 and I bought this crappy Chinese Ruckus, and I've been trading it and selling stuff in order to get to this point. Managed to get up to $3,200. In today's market, that ain't shit. I had to settle for this automatic Mazda Miata.
It's only got 140,000 miles.
Not too bad. But it's got an automatic.
So that is clearly the biggest problem.
It's got a lot of other problems. Anywho, I'm gonna manual swap it first, just because you need a manual Miata. This is everything you need to manual swap your Mazda Miata. Start with the obvious one. You need a manual transmission. This one is hopefully in okay shape. I picked it up on Facebook Marketplace for $200, and it seems to be a little crunchy and crusty, but I think it'll do. It goes into all its gears. Should be good. Next thing we need the manual drive shaft. The drive shaft that's in the automatic is different size. I'm not sure if it's too long or too short, but you need a manual drive shaft. To go with your manual drive shaft, you also need a manual transmission power plant frame. I believe it's shorter in the automatic, so make sure you have a manual transmission power plant frame. To mate our engine to our transmission, we need a flywheel and we need a clutch. This is a 1.6 flywheel that I had lying around, and I bought the cheapest eBay clutch that I could possibly find. It came in the most tattered, sad box I've ever seen in my life, but it was $60 shipped, and I think it'll be okay. If you're gonna do this to your car, I highly recommend getting a 1.8 liter flywheel. You don't need to go and get a lightweight flywheel or anything fancy. Just get a factory 1.8 flywheel, get it resurfaced. This isn't resurfaced. Get it resurfaced, or get a new flywheel and get a 1.8 clutch. It will work with a 1.6, it'll work with a 1.8. It is a better, beefier clutch. But I'm cheap, and this is the cheapest thing that I could do, so we're gonna run a 1.6 clutch in this 1.8. Will it hold? Yes. Will it hold if I boost it? No chance. I'm not gonna boost it. This is solely just to get this car to be a manual. It'll run and drive for years to come without problems, but if you really try and put some power down to it, it's gonna slip. To control our clutch, we need a clutch pedal. I have this clutch pedal that I just pulled from a parts car, and it is in okay shape. The only thing that I might also do is pull the brake and gas as well. But if you see here, we have a big rectangle here rather than just like a little rectangle. So my plan is either swap over the brake pedal as well, because I do have it, or just to make life easy, just cut it. I believe we'd have to cut it here. So it would be gas, brake, and then the clutch pedal will sit over here. So if we get rid of this section here, this little rubber pad would not work, which is fine. But if I lob it off right here, that will be the same size as a manual brake pedal. We push down the clutch pedal, and that pushes our master cylinder. I have this master cylinder that came out of my buddy's car, and we just replaced it. And it has a nice bendable line, which is sick, that goes to our slave cylinder. Again, if you're gonna do this in your car, get a brand new slave. You can buy one of these flexible lines. You can do an OEM hard line if you wanna do it like that. These lines are cheap though. They're way easier to route, and it will make your life a hell of a lot easier. Also for the slave cylinder, this one is probably fine. It doesn't leak, and I know it actuates okay. Also, the plus side of this is I don't have to bleed it. It's already bled, which is sick. So all I have to do is pop that in, and then the clutch pedal should make this guy go in and out. Lastly, I'm not exactly sure if you do need it or not, but I have the exact ECU that this year has, but in a manual transmission. Want to make sure you match up the year to the car, because they all have different ECU pinouts and everything too. So this is a 94. I'm gonna put in a 94. You know, you got to keep it the same. far as I know, that's all you really need. Besides little bolts and stuff, which I do have hiding around, you need flywheel bolts and you need pressure plate bolts. Again, if you're gonna do this, buy new stuff. Don't reuse old stuff. Do as I do, not as I say. No. Do as I say, not as I do. We need ECU, we need slave cylinder, we need clutch line, we need master cylinder, we need a clutch pedal, we need the power plant frame, we need a clutch, we need a flywheel, we need clutch and flywheel bolts, we need the drive shaft, we need the transmission. I didn't say that. We need the shifter as well. If the transmission doesn't come with it, just buy a short shifter or something. And then a shift knob. And then lastly, the creme de la creme, if you want to put a shift boot or make a shift boot, I will probably make one in this video because they're pretty easy to do. But yeah, we'll do that. There's one thing I forgot. You need transmission fluid. This is what I usually use. Redline MT90. You need 3 quarts of transmission fluid. Without further ado, let's get this car in the air and get started.
But Mike, I don't have a fancy lift.
Use a jack stands. You don't think I sat in dirt driveways doing this? You gotta sit in dirt. You work your way up to the shop, but you do it in the driveway and you suffer with hand tools. Get a buddy, buy a bunch of beers, and do it. All right, let's get started. Step number 1, you're gonna go over to your battery, disconnect the negative battery terminal. Now we're gonna go inside and disconnect all of this junk. I've actually never taken one of these out, so this is gonna be a learning experience for me as well. I know that there are screws that are one right here, one right there, right here, and if you open up this guy, we've got one here and one here, and yeah, this one's got it in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then normally this thing pops up. I'm going to assume that something will limit me here. I'll get back to you. Take those 5 screws out. This whole thing actually just comes up. So just be mindful of wires and some weird bullshit that you have wired in from some other owner. I don't know why there's so many things wired in. Like, this has manual windows. Like, what the fuck, dude? Brother, what the fuck is all this? Oh my god, dude, I've never seen this many wires going underneath this thing in my life. Holy shit, there should be one for a little light there and then one for the window switches, but what the fuck is all this? Oh my goodness gracious. Alright, well, I'm gonna cut some wires and you're not gonna have all this, I can almost guarantee it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this in place for now. I'm assuming it's these 4 10mm bolts just holding the whole shift mechanism in place for now. But just in case I need to shift the car into, oh shit, it's locked. What did I do? Oh no. Oh, sugar, what did I do? Whatever, you got that little thing here. I'm gonna leave this in place now, just in case I gotta shift this thing into gear, out of gear, in a neutral, yada, yada, yada. Underneath the car, first thing I'm going to do is remove the exhaust. I have a feeling it's gonna get in the way, so we've got the bolt right here on the automatic bell housing holding this little thingy-mabobber in place, and then there's 3 bolts way up there. The O2 sensor, oh, that's gonna be a nightmare. I'm gonna try and unplug that from the top and drop it down. We got some leads going on here as well. That'll be fun. Oh, goodness gracious. What have I gotten myself into here?
1 hour later.
I'm already having a bad time. I work on these cars a lot, and this one is not fun to work on. Well, basically, it took me an hour to get this exhaust off. Normally it takes me an hour to pull a manual transmission. So, we're not doing too hot. Managed to break the O2 sensor. That's sick, love that. Hopefully I have one lying around. Also, I really tried my best here not to break these off, but 2 of the studs broke on the exhaust manifold. Love to see it. That's future me's problem. Well, okay, now we're gonna resume like this is a regular manual removal. We've got 4 bolts right here holding our drive shaft in place. Once you get these 4 bolts out, it slides out of the yoke. We got 4 bolts, so what you either need to do is put it in park and do this and rotate it, or if you're able to get an impact, just hold it with this side, yeet this side out, tap, tap, tap with a hammer, and then pull the drive shaft. Be mindful, the transmission has fluid in it, and in a manual transmission, you want to drain the pan first and then pull it, because there will be residual coming out of the drive shaft. So get a pan, put it underneath the very tail end of it, so if it does start leaking, you're not making a mess. Next thing I did is we have these little push pins that go along the PPF. There is one 10mm bolt holding this ground in. You got to take that out and then use something to pry in between here, or you can push them from the back if you don't want to break them like I did. I usually just break them and then zip tie them anyway. So there's that. Right up here, this wiring harness is held in with one 12mm bolt. Also, we have our speedo cable. I use an adjustable wrench. It shouldn't be super tight. If it is, just be careful. I'm sure people have snapped them before, or rounded it off, but usually they're not too tight. I see our shifting mechanism attached right here to the shifter. All it is just this one little thing, and it just pushes a rod and it goes straight forward. So, I mean, how easy is it to push? Oh, it moves super fucking easy. Okay, so I can unhook this, and if I need to get it in or out of gear, I can just manually push it. No freaking big deal. So we're gonna pull these cotter pins here and here. I mean, I could probably just pull one, but I'm gonna pull them both and get those out of the way. Then move our way up to the torque converter. Right here, we have two 10mm bolts. It's holding this little shield right now. Basically, now what we need to do is this flex plate, which is kind of like a flywheel. You see that bolt over there? Need to undo the torque converter, which is bolted to it. So use a pry bar, move this thing over. You're gonna have to use like a skinny wrench just to get in there. Hold it with a pry bar or something, and work your way around until you loosen up all of the bolts. So I was struggling getting these torque converter bolts loose. They're super tight. The only way I could figure out how to do it, it's a little risky, but it's working so far. Take a wrench, then put it on there and spin the torque converter so the wrench is pressed up against this side nice and tight and it won't slip off. Then take your favorite hammer and just give it a good whack that way. Yes, the wrench might fly off. Be careful you don't strip that out, but that's the only way I was able to get these loose. I tried pulling, I tried grabbing, I tried doing all sorts of stuff. Should have started this at 6 at night. I feel like an idiot. We've got the torque converter unhooked. I'm going to call it for the day. I gotta come here in the morning and work on customer cars, so get this car off the lift, then resume. I gotta deal with this transpooler line in the front, as well as all the wiring, and there's a filler neck attached too. So get that off, then we tackle the power plant frame. I'll see you in the morning. It's a new day, everybody. So what I did is I took off this heat shield. It took me a little bit, but I figured get it out of the way because I am more than likely gonna have to pull my exhaust manifold. I just hit it with a quick little thing of silver. I think it'll make it look nicer. It'll get a lot of stuff out of the way with like the airbox and this and that. We're gonna have to get in there to do the clutch master cylinder anyway, so kind of a win-win. I'm not gonna touch this yet, but this is more than likely gonna have to come off. If you're following along to do this with your own car, you don't have to take this off. The only reason I do is because I broke this stud and I broke this stud off when I was taking the exhaust off. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to try and extract that, and hopefully I can just weld a nut on and then take those off. But for now, we're gonna continue doing our automatic transmission swap. Get that thing out of here. The only thing I am worried about is pulling it myself, because apparently these motherfuckers are heavy. If you guys see here, we've got this line and we have this line, and they go up over the transmission, over yonder, and then they go forward through this little line thing and da-da-da-da-da, all the way to the front into this little transmission cooler thing. I actually think this is kind of cool for like a power steering cooler. I might steal that if it's not in terrible shape. I'm gonna try and undo this bolt and this banjo bolt, and hopefully not make too big of a mess. But that also needs to go if you don't care about your lines, which I probably will end up doing anyway. Gonna cut them if they get in the way. But if you can save them, why not save them? Now you should probably not follow my lead here, but we've got a bunch of wiring and I am going to cut it. I will let you know if that is a bad decision. You'll find out. Don't do that yet if you're following along. It just goes to this thing. I don't think I need it. If anything, I have to splice into it. Just don't cut it back there, cut it up here. So that way you can just unplug it when it's out of the way. Same thing, we've got these other pluggies over here. I doubt anybody's gonna wanna buy this automatic transmission. So we're going to cut them all. Just went too high, you need to cut it. All right, so I am just draining all of these lines. We've got that 10 mil there. Obviously, don't cut all these if you don't fucking need to. I'm just lazy and I cut them and pull them through. There's this little bracket here. You kind of want to unbolt the bracket with the two 10 millimeters and basically unplug all this stuff and it'll separate into one section, which I'm assuming goes to the car. And then there's one section that goes to the transmission. Probably gonna need some of these wires to adapt to reverse light and neutral safety switch, probably something like that. But I'm gonna keep cutting and draining. We got one more 10 millimeter bolt holding that line in along with this one here. So a couple 10 mils. Oh God, I dropped it on camera, goddamn. Okay, I'm gonna keep draining and cutting and basically getting this trans cooler and all the lines off of it first. Ended up cutting the lines that go right to here. So basically cut them at the rubber lines and then use some dikes and I cut them back here. That's where the glove is. Just trying to make as much room as possible. Basically, that's kind of the game. Just make enough room to get all the bell housing bolts and the starter and everything as easily as possible. I believe the next thing I need to do is take the bell housing bolts off and remove the PPF from either the diff or from the transmission. It's got to come off of here anyway. These are usually kind of a bitch. They're 17 millimeter bolts. Hit them with the impact or torque wrench and a pole, and hopefully, I know they'll come out of here, but coming out of here, pain in the ass. Trick of the day. What you gotta do, loosen it until it's about yay big. Put a socket on it so you don't round these off, and then boom, hit it with a hammer. There's these little things up here. You want them to come out of the power plant frame. They're like these little circles that are recessed in. I'll show you after I get that, but basically loosen, bonk, and then they protrude if they loosen. It's usually not that fucking easy, dude. It's always a pain. You see how I loosen these up? I have them in probably like 2 or 3 threads where it's not like frozen. This one's a little tighter. Wouldn't hurt to spray these with some WD or some peanut butter blaster. Worst thing that could possibly happen is you hit them with a hammer and then these little rings, where the fuck are they? You can't even see them. The little rings at the top, if those get stuck, like if the bolts get stuck in those, getting them out is a motherfucker. So you kind of want to be able to move it by hand. Give it a little, with the impact, give it a little out and in. Oh yeah, out. We're just gonna go barely in with that one. If you're doing this at home, be careful about these. Like, I'm hitting these with a hammer because I have extra power plant, I've got the diff power plant frame bolts. I've got them everywhere. If you want to be really careful and not round these off or fuck those up, put a socket, a 17 millimeter socket, and tape it to the bottom of it. So you're hitting the socket and not this. So if I round these off, not the end of the world. But if you need to reuse yours, make sure you don't mess them up. All right. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! We're gonna take these two 17 millimeter bolts out, all the way out. Don't have to worry about the top because the threads are built into a little slider thing on the power plant frame. Oh, I got it in my eyes! There's so much oil all over the place, dude. What the fuck? Now you're gonna take a pry bar. Pry your pee-pee. Don't pry your pee-pee, pry your PPF. Ah! Freedom! And our jack is here supporting this just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, I am fucking soaked and I have ATF in my eye. Basically, this freaking filler neck, I just pushed it out of the way. There's one 10 mil holding it in. There's another one there, one at the top. Just undo all the 10 mils holding this in. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. And then just pop it out of the way. Now, I believe everything is unhooked that needs to be. We have our transmission cooler lines out of the way, and we have our bell housing bolts that we need to take out. I'm just gonna start cracking them. First ones you wanna do are the most miserable at the very top. There's 2 at the very top. You're gonna have to use extendo attachments and all sorts of stuff to get those off. They are all 17 mil, I believe, on this, except for the starter. The starter's got 14s. Make sure you disconnect your battery, because if you arc off the starter, you're gonna be having a bad time. All right, I will come back once I have all the bell housing bolts out. We have our torque converter unbolted, and be mindful, this thing is full of fucking fluid. Like, way more fluid than you would think. Like, more than the engine, for sure. And then that torque converter, also full of fluid. If you guys are doing it by yourself, you're gonna take a bath in ATF, or you gotta be real careful taking this out. All right, folks, so we are ready to pull the transmission, I do believe. We've got all the bell housing bolts except for this one right here taken out. That'll be my last release. I don't know why I did that one, but the starter bolts, one of them was a 14, the other ones are 12. Basically, you want to use this extendo bendy boys. Just get a bunch of them, hook them up to an impact. If you don't have an impact, good luck to you. Yeah, and also keep track of the bolts, like where they came out of, because there's some through bolts, there's some threaded bolts, they're all different lengths, so make sure you know that. As for all of this stuff, basically, I ripped out anything that I possibly could. Got the filler neck out of the way. You can see there's 1, 2, 3 10 millimeter bolts. There's also clips and wires and stuff. Get all of this stuff out of the way, and what I found to do best is basically push all the wiring and everything on top of the transmission. That way you can get access to all of these bolts. We've got the one that's way up there is probably the most irritating, and then 3 starter bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. These I took off of the exhaust, and then we have our 1 bolt at the very tippity top. So 2 at the top, bunch all around it. Keep track of them. Now, I think I'm gonna be a smart fella and take a ratchet strap and go around the jack itself, and try and strap the freaking thing to it. I'm assuming this is all gonna be heavy, but yeah, basically strap it and give it a jiggle wiggle waggle once I get this 17 mil out, and hopefully no more automatic. The torque converter hopefully will not fall out. Oh shit! Alright. Oh fucking shit balls! That's the transmission right there, folks. Alright, make sure your PP is out of the way. Make sure the torque converter doesn't fall out. If it does, you will have quite the mess. Oh god damn. Oh god damn! And now, don't let the fucking turn. And we're doing a real fast slide. Ah yes! Oh shit! Oh god damn! And that's how you pull an automatic transmission in a Miata. Now I like this Miata. This Miata just got way better. Dude, this thing weighs a million goddamn pounds. Oh yeah. There's some hammering and tapping, and I also removed the 2 14 millimeter bolts here and just kind of finagled it out with this thing. You can try and get these 2 14 millimeter bolts out and then just kind of pry the thing out of the way and it will, or you have to get this piece out of here. It's kind of pressed in. It gives you like the tiniest little bit of room to try and pry with a pry bar, but it doesn't always work. So getting it out like this with the diff or without the diff like this is your best option. Now we need to get all this stuff off and get the other power plant frame prepped. Moving over to this side, we have our flex plate, which needs to be removed. Take these out. I clearly have a rear main seal leak, so if you guys have a leak as well, do your rear main seal. Now, right here, we have these two lines that were connected to the transmission. One is just an overflow, and it has this little swoopy doop, and the other one, I believe, goes into the intake manifold, and that is gonna have to get capped off. So I can't forget about that. This one right here, right into the manifold. So we can unbolt this thing. This is just like an overflow. And then this one needs to be freaking capped off with a vacuum cap. Or if you're real broke, you just put a bolt in this thing, but that's kind of ghetto. So we will put something else in that. So I'm gonna pull this flywheel off and see what we've got going on. Well, if you're doing this, it's likely that your automatic transmission's never been out and you wanna just do your rear main seal. Basically, it's this piece that goes here. You're gonna get this one little dude for the seal, and try your best not to break this, because if you do, you're in trouble. So basically there's like a little chamfer right here. I found the best way to do it is to tap a flathead screwdriver into there and then just like pry it down until you have a little bit of movement. Then get a flathead behind here and just kind of shimmy on both sides. So there's a seal right here, and you can try and use a new one, but I've never been able to get it to work, like to get on here, because it has to slide straight forward and basically the seal just slips right out. So what you want to do is pull off the old seal, use a whole bunch of RTV and goop the fuck out of it, tap this old thing out, put a new one in. Once you get that all cleaned out, my cam angle sensor is probably leaking too. I just did a valve cover, but cam angle sensor probably on the to-do list as well. But for now, get this on, and then we move on to our flywheel. All right, we are good and gooped up, just like your mom. Okie dokie, now we are going to prep our flywheel. Realistically, you should be using a brand new flywheel or have it resurfaced. This is what I got. I'm not resurfacing it. It doesn't have any hot spots. I think we'll be a freaking okay. We are going to install our new pilot bearing that came in our clutch kit. You want to find a socket that will match the outside of the bearing, and then you can go to town with your hammer. Try to make sure you're hitting it in as flat as possible. If you have to work your way around, that is probably the best way to do it. If you have time to put it in the freezer, that will also help you out. Use some brake clean or any sort of cleaner to clean your flywheel surface. You obviously should do this on the car as well before you put on your clutch, but just to get a majority of the grime off, I'm doing it here just to show you and tell you. You also want to make sure you're using the flywheel bolts from a manual transmission, not the automatic flex plate. Look at the difference. This is the manual, this is the auto. You're not gonna have enough threads to bite in if you use your auto ones, so get some. These ones are obviously not in great shape, but they are gonna do the trick for me today. Also need your pressure plate bolts and these little locking washers. Get new ones, don't be like me and reuse them. Do as I say, not as I do. If you do somehow reuse your bolts, make sure you clean them off nicely, and you're going to want to use Loctite. I would suggest blue Loctite. You don't think you're ever going to do a clutch again, I guess you can use red, but they're spinning, so I would Loctite them along with your pressure plate bolts. Make sure they're clean. I am going to torque mine to, I think it's got to be pretty close to 75 foot-pounds for the flywheel and around 25 for the pressure plate bolts. That's what I usually do. Don't trust me though, look up the torque specs. It probably is a little bit different than that. Before you go put this flywheel on, there's this little spacer here in the automatic. I found out, I was like, why the fuck won't this go on? Uh-oh, there's this little thing here. Make sure you pull that out or you'll be in trouble. When you go to torque down these flywheel bolts, the flywheel itself will spin. Here's a trick. You take a bolt and you use a wrench. There's these little nubs on the flywheel itself for the clutch plate. So make sure there's enough threads biting in there. Put a wrench here, put it there. And then now when you go to use your torque wrench, it will not spin. So you'll be able to torque it down by yourself without anybody holding it. You can try and use a screwdriver and stuff, but this is the best way that I found. Your clutch should come with this. If not, it's not the end of the world. Basically, the splines for your clutch, it's got this little thing, goes into the pilot bearing, you have your clutch in there, you stick it in there, and then you put the pressure plate on. Now, be mindful when you go to put this clutch in that you don't put it in backwards or you'll have a bad time. Usually this flat side goes on the flywheel and this goes towards the bell housing. A lot of the times if you get a decent clutch, it'll tell you. This one does not, but I've seen so many clutches in backwards, it's not even funny, dude. Lots of weird problems. So this side that's flat goes towards the engine and this one goes towards the bell housing. So this guy goes in here, we go and then pop it into the pilot bearing. And then you're going to torque these down in a star pattern. I looked it up, I think it's 14 to 19 foot-pounds. I'm using old bolts, so I'm gonna use 25.
Just like that.
Oh yeah. All right, now I think it's time for the transmission. I just gotta look up if I gotta do anything with these wires. For the sake of my own sanity, I'm not even gonna worry about these. This is the neutral safety switch and the reverse lights. I'm gonna pretend like these aren't even here for now. What I will do is show you guys how to get it to run. So basically, if you don't wanna do the neutral safety switch, you can cut off the connector like I did to all this stuff here. There's 2 wires. You can either cut into that harness, which I'd recommend, or you can cut into this harness. Basically, these 2 big wires out of this pin. See the fat pins there? Focused. Oh, god damn. Basically, loop those wires, solder them together, or you can cut it right here and do the black and red and the black and blue, and you just loop them together, or you just take the old connector and pop it in there. I have the other connectors just tied out of my way for now, because I'm gonna let the next guy figure it out. Everything else should be good. Now I can get rid of this stupid little shifter. I think it's just those 4 10mm bolts. Oh my god, I forgot about those. Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Last thing I want to do is install this throttle bearing. It came in an eBay clutch kit. I don't recommend you use this, but when in Rome, you know? It looks better than this one, that's for sure. So everything in this transmission looks extra crusty, but it was pretty cheap and should be low miles, I think. So we're going to run it. There's a little clip behind here that holds that on right there. Oh my god, hello. What are you doing? Get. Basically, there's this little ball. You want to clean that out, grease it, nice. Oh yeah. This is your fork. This is the old bearing. This is the new bearing. Basically, clean all this shit up, put some grease on it, put some grease where the ball goes, slide this guy like this, bada bang, bada boom. You pop it through the hole, and then back onto the ball pivot, and good to go. I put this on, and yes, this looks like shit, but in other news, what the fuck, dude? Why is nothing ever easy? I didn't look at this. This bolt is in here crooked, and this one is filled with weld, I think, or broken something. That sucks, dude. Played myself. This is a 40,000 mile transmission, and I am probably just going to use it on this piece of shit just to save me some time. It's just a series of unfortunate events at this point, dude. Like, I've broken so many things. I gotta use my 40,000 mile transmission because that one's got broken stuff on the bell housing. It's not the end of the world as long as the internals are good, but like, fuck. Yeah! Oh, god damn! Also, I'm not liable for anything. Like, you do this and you follow my directions, good luck. Yeah, dude, 5 speeds are fucking light. Automatics? Heavy. Bad. I'm really struggling right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. This whole thing is kicking my ass. Like, way more than it should. I have no helpers. If you guys want to be my friend and help me work on cars, hit me up. Alright! I think this is good enough. I put on music and I forgot to hit record. It's in. I have the transmission kind of in. Got a couple bolts holding it in. Probably should throw some more in and get the power plant frame mounted up. But pretty big win. We got a manual transmission in this piece of junk, dude. Honestly, I don't know why I did this, but more headache than anything. But just to show you guys, it's not terrible. It's not good, but not terrible. You know, if you find a pretty clean car, like I keep saying this thing's a piece of shit, but look underneath it. The thing's actually really good. Like, no rust. The only thing that is just ugly, it's got wrinkled paint. The fucking it needs some body work here and there, and it needs some loving, you know? But other than that, if you got a car that you think is well worth it and it's an automatic, buy it and manual swap it if it can save you some money and the body and the car itself is worth it. So, I have to get the power plant frame in. I have to get the drive shaft in. Don't know the torque specs to the drive shaft. Don't ask me. Good and tight. That is the torque spec. So, drive shaft in. Shifter's got to go in. Power plant frame goes in. And once I get the power plant frame in place, I will show you guys how to align it. There's a specific way to do it, but you want to have the transmission picked up just a little bit. Not having it droop and then tighten it down. Like, pick it up a little bit. There's a way that you're supposed to do it by hanging something or putting a bar from here to here and then measuring the distance. But I know a lot of you guys are going to be doing this. Your frame rails are going to be botched up. So I've always done it by feel. Basically, just jack it up a little bit. Make sure the distance between this isn't too far, you know? You'll know if it's aligned. And it's got to be straight, too. You can't do it like, you know, you'll know when your shifter's not straight. So, all right. Pretty big win. I got to tighten all those bell housing bolts. I think, yeah, fuck it. We'll do the power plant frame first and then move on to the clutch pedal and lines. And I have a feeling that's not going to be very fun either. Once you get your power plant frame attached to the diff with the 2 bolts, you're going to have to finagle this piece and the top pieces. It's going to be a fun time. Once that's on there, you kind of slip it over the transmission itself. You've got 1 bolt hole and 2 big bolt holes. This is a little bolt, this is a big bolt. If you had an auto, you might need to go get one of these. I'll probably have one lying around, but the other bolts should be exactly the same. Notice how I have the jack underneath the transmission. I have it picked up just a little bit, because if you don't, the transmission's like this, and then the drive shaft's at a funny angle, and it makes transmissions not happy. So, jack it up just a little bit. If you want to be a mathematician, then go for it and do what you got to do, but just pick it up a little bit, and that's called aligning your PPF. Drive shaft is in, power plant frame is in, we've got our cables all installed. Nice. The last thing we gotta do down here is attach our slave cylinder. Actually, not the last thing. We have to fill the transmission as well. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is empty. Yeah, it's loose. So this is a 24 millimeter, and then you're gonna use an open end wrench, and you're gonna loosen this. Don't over tighten it. See how there's threads still going? The threads are like this. They're like a V. So the deeper you get, the tighter it gets. Don't fucking crank this down when you go to tighten it. So it thinks it's an MPT fitting or something. So see how this is all nicked up because it was really tight. So 24, drain whatever you got. Make sure that's tight. This is an open end. You're gonna fill this up. I'm still waiting for fluid. You can figure that out though. Basically, make sure this is tight, loosen this. You're going to use a pump, or if you have squeeze bottle fluid, good for you. It's gonna take a little bit over 2 quarts. So get 3 quarts of manual transmission GL4 style fluid. I use Redline MT90. You're gonna pump it, and then once it starts running out of here, then you put this back on, and boom, your transmission is filled. As for the slave cylinder, if you have a unit that is brand new, then you could have put that on beforehand, and it is just held on with 2 bolts. If you don't have the bolts, then you'll have to find some. I think it's regularly like 2 12 millimeter bolts. Just try and find some that fit in there and bolt it up here. If your line isn't on there, then don't worry about it. If you somehow have this all set up like me, ready to rock and roll, I would go ahead and put this in place, drag the line over, and then droop your slave into place. So for right now, I have my master cylinder just kind of plopped in place. You see right there, there's a block off plate from factory, so we don't have to cut any holes or anything, which is pretty sick. So left that there, just kind of routed the line any way that I wanted. Do it how you please. Right now I just have it sagging. I'll probably bolt it up and then kind of pick that up and zip tie it out of the way. But down yonder, like I said, 2 bolts. And then over here, what we got to do is figure out our clutch pedal situation. And honestly, for the ease of it, I think it's best to take the seat out. It's 4 14-millimeter bolts, 1 on each corner, and it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier. If you got speakers in the headrest, just make sure to unplug them. Once you guys got your eyeballs under here, you'll notice there's not very much room for a clutch pedal. So we have the brake pedal, which is kind of in the way. And also, we have all this stuff here. I am going to assume, like, dude, there's so much shit that shouldn't be in here. I have no idea what it even goes to. You guys aren't gonna have this unless you got some weird car situation like this. But that box, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's something for the auto trans. But it's gotta go because it's in the way. So I'm gonna unplug it. And basically all of these, this is probably like relays and stuff for your turn signals and this and that or whatever. All those can get tucked up. But this has to go, so I'm going to undo that. Holy smokes, I hope you aren't claustrophobic, because if you are, that's not gonna be fun. Basically, you have to lay down upside down. This piece comes out first. There's 2 12 millimeters holding it in, and good God, it is a pain. Then, after that's out of the way, there's this bracket full of stuff. I guess I'm just gonna undo it all from this bracket because the bracket's in the way, and then plug it all back in. After all that, let me get underneath. You basically have to shimmy your way under. Lay down, and now you have your 2 bolts holding in that block off plate thingy in the way. And I really hope I can just chop this brake pedal, but if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off and try and shimmy the clutch pedal into place and see if I can cut the brake pedal or if I need to go get one out of a parts car that I got. You don't even need to cut it, dude. Look at it, the heel toe monster. Oh, shoot. All right, well, I think you could just cut it in the middle in both, and then it would kind of be slightly close enough. So you don't need both of these pedals. Basically, you snake this guy through, and then there's 1 stud right there, and then the 2 bolts come through the other side, and you bolt your little master cylinder right to here. Bada bing, bada boom. I think you can use the 2 nuts from the other side, that little thingy that was attached to it. Hopefully use those 2 nuts for the master cylinder. There was this little thing. If they're the right size, that would be pretty sick. So you come on over and twisty poo. Oh yeah, come on, get in there. Get in there, Mazda, come on. Yeah, buddy. And just like that. We have a clutch pedal. Like I said, I gotta put all that other shit back. And also, I'd recommend you put a different clutch brake in, or brake and gas pedal in. I am going to cut mine strategically. I'm gonna see exactly where I want my feet on it, and then yeah, go from there. Now that is done, you have a clutch, you have a transmission, you need a shifter. I'm gonna put a shifter in, and this thing is open header right now, but I'm going to start it, I think, and see if it goes into gear. I didn't put transmission fluid in yet, so I'm not gonna start it. I need some trans fluid. Speaking of fluid, when you go to put your shifter in, put some fluid into the turret if it's empty. It could really be anything. It'd be fucking maple syrup for all it matters, as long as there's something in there lubricating all that stuff. I usually just use gear oil in there, so it's not gonna be mixed with the transmission fluid. If you have some extra trans fluid, throw it in, bada bing, bada boom. Oh goodness gracious, I had to deal with this. Getting this off is such a bitch. If you have a car that has EGR with that stupid little tube going to it, getting this tube is such a bitch, dude. It's a 22. Oh my goodness gracious. Things have been going interestingly this morning. I have a lot of welding and stuff going on. I tried for like an hour to get these studs out of the old one, but luckily there was one upstairs. So took that out. The only problem is that part is welded for the EGR. So we have no EGR on this thing. I screwed it back into place though, so looks like it has EGR. But we have our manifold back on with a fresh gasket. Our little tube is running down yonder. Whatever, should be good. Last thing I did is I took all this shielding shit off the exhaust because there's holes, and I tried to patch the holes with the welder, and then I wrapped it with exhaust wrap just for good measure. It's probably still gonna leak. It had a terrible exhaust leak before. It's still going to. It is what it is. Luckily, I broke the O2 sensor yesterday. Luckily, I'm a hoarder for Miata parts, so I have this O2 sensor right here from a 1.8, so hopefully I can take it out and not break it. It'll be way easier out of the car. The last thing I need to do with the exhaust is I need to find or make a gasket for this little triangle fella right here. It's a weird shape, not a normal one. I can't really go to AutoZone or anything and get a gasket, so I'll have to figure it out. Kind of sucks, but it's part of the game, baby. All right, we're back in friggin' business, baby. We got the exhaust attached. We got an O2 sensor attached. We've got this all tightened down with a new gasket. We've got our EGR tube back into place. Now I gotta put that shiny little spray painted cover back on, and this thing will be looking sick. So now I've caught back up to where you guys should be. Exhaust is on, everything's good to go. The only thing I don't have going on yet is a shifter, and I'm not entirely worried about that yet. I filled up the transmission, by the way. I used the leftover transmission oil, drained the diff fluid, and I also did an oil change. So this thing's got all new fluids. I vacuumed up all the dirty brake fluid and the dirty clutch fluid, so I know it's not the proper way to do it, but I put some new fluids in this thing. At least it will be happier than it was, for sure. Now, the last thing that we should have to do is put this ECU into place and then start the guy up. Hopefully it runs. I would assume it runs. I didn't do anything crazy to it. See if the clutch works, and then drive this thing out of here. All right, if you guys have an NA8 Miata, this is where your ECU is located, right behind the seat here. You got a 1.6. I know it is on the floorboard up there. I'm honestly not sure about the NBs. Probably one of the two. I don't think they changed it up too much. So all I'm gonna do is take out these bolts. There should be a few bolts holding the bracket in. Undo the clip, pop my different ECU in. I think you can use this. You might just have to like swap a ground over or ground something. I have the other ECU. I'm gonna try that. If that doesn't work, then we'll pull this ECU and make some magic happen. Reconnect your battery. Don't do like I did. Take your freaking negative off, not your positive. We go into car. Key's already on, that's great. Oh. Well, it runs, but I'm also a dumbass and forgot the math. Please hold. Okay, now is the moment of truth. Didn't like running without a math, but I should have got a belt too. That belt is screaming for dear life. Fresh oil. This thing sounds nice, dude. It sounded bad before. It had a gnarly exhaust leak. Got that stock pipe now. All right, let's push in our clutch. We've got our clutch. Clutch is in. First gear. E-brakes up, down. Yep, e-brakes down. Oh, we're moving and grooving, baby. Sick. Success. Now I know this thing runs. Dude, it sounds awesome. Not bad. It was just not happy with life. It's making some funny noises. It's just readjusting to being alive. That's all. Alive for the first time, I should say. with a manual transmission. I got lots of stuff to put back together. This is a giant mess. But for now, what I'd like to do is put a seat back in it, drive it down the road with its new manual transmission. Well, everybody, we have successfully manual swapped a Miata. Not bad. There's a few things I obviously didn't cover, but you guys get the gist of it. It's relatively straightforward, kind of a bitch. It took me longer to get the exhaust off than it did to get the transmission out, which is kind of hilarious, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. So fully prepared to deal with some hurdles and set aside a weekend and have a buddy. Honestly, having somebody to help would have been awesome, but you can do it by yourself. I did it with a lift. If you're gonna do it on the ground, I'd suggest you have a buddy. It'd probably help you out, at least mentally, you know? So if you guys found this video helpful at all, if you were entertained at all, it would mean the world to me if you like it, comment, subscribe, anything. Subscribe to my channel. I do all sorts of drifting and lots of builds. I've got many things, and I bought a fucking race car, so I got lots of stuff planned. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye, little buddy.